Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over our next schedule preview this 2020 offseason, and it will be over the Texas Longhorns. And this was a team that went 8-5 in the 2019 season. Overall, it was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, there was a lot of expectation for Texas going into 2019. Of course, many people were talking about them possibly being a surprise contender for the college football playoff, being a Big 12 champion, and certainly, I mean, all the tools were there for them to make a run like that last season, and it didn't really work out all that well. But nonetheless, we'll be going over 2020 here today. We're going to be going over a few players that this team will be losing, who they're going to be returning, also going over their schedule for the first time this offseason. Starting off the games that Texas has had since November, we start off on November 9th when they played Kansas State at home. They won that game 27-24, very close one there. But however, the next week they lost to Iowa State. I mean, they still had a possible chance to make the Big 12 championship game at that point in the season. Of course, I mean, that loss to Iowa State really sealed the deal for them to not be able to do that. But yeah, they lost the game 21-23 in Ames. They also lost at Baylor 10-24, so that was a tough game as well. But Baylor, let me remind you, they were out of the ordinary team last season. They really had a ton of talent on their team, no doubt on that. We also see they beat Texas Tech big time, 49-24 on November 29th to finish off the regular season. And then they had a major win against Utah to finish off the season in a bowl game. I believe it's the Alamo Bowl, 38-10. So yeah, certainly, I mean, the end of the season was really good for Texas, beating up Texas Tech and Utah. But yeah, those losses like Iowa State and Baylor, you just can't have those if you're going to make a run like how they were expecting to last season, of course. Yeah, the trend for Texas last season, they were 5-3 between September and October. They also had a couple of tough losses early on. Of course, they did have to play LSU, which we all know how good LSU was last season. I mean, they were one of the best teams of all time, of the past decade, I mean, for sure. But yeah, between November and the postseason, they were 3-2, so you also had a couple of lingering losses there as well. That certainly Texas couldn't handle to make it into a big run. But nonetheless, let's look at your returning production for Texas next season. Quarterback Sam Ehlinger does return for his senior season, so that's going to be really, really good for the Longhorns. He had 3,600 passing yards as well as 32 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last season. So yeah, he's got a decent touchdown-interception ratio. I mean, if he could shave off a couple of those interceptions, make it more of a 32-5 touchdown-interception ratio, that'd be a huge improvement, no doubt on that. And I think Sam Ehlinger could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation if he's able to stay healthy and if he can do that. He also had a lot of yards rushing. He had nearly 700 yards of rushing as well as 7 additional touchdowns for the rushing wise. So yeah, certainly Sam Ehlinger, I think he's going to have another great season for Texas next year. And I wouldn't surprise me to see him be an early rounder for sure in the NFL draft in 2021. They do return their top running back in Keontae Ingram, which he had over 1,000 yards of offense last season as well as 10 touchdowns, so that's going to be a huge return as well. They also returned the second running back, Rashawn Johnson, which he had over 800 yards of offense as well as 8 touchdowns too. So yeah, 2 huge returns in the running back core there. You also lose your top wide receiver, Devin Duvernay. That's going to be probably the toughest loss that this team's going to have. He had over 1,400 yards of offense last season. That is insane, as well as 10 touchdowns. So yeah, certainly Duvernay was a really big player for Texas last season, and it's going to be a tough loss. They also lose their second receiver in Colin Johnson. He had around 600 yards of offense as well as 3 touchdowns. And their top receiver coming back this season is going to be Brennan Eagles, and he didn't have a whole lot of yardage last season. He was in the 300s. So certainly, I mean, their wide receiver core is taking a major hit with losing their top 2 receivers. But knowing Sam Ehlinger, I think with him being a really great quarterback, no doubt on that, I think he'll be just fine. If he can get a couple of good wide receivers, I think, and if Brennan Eagles definitely steps up, I think Sam Ehlinger will be just fine. He's shown that he's got a ton of talent. So, yeah, I think they'll be fine in that position. It's going to be huge returning those running backs, though, no doubt on that. Otherwise, they do lose 2 offensive linemen, tough loss there, 2 defensive linemen as well as 1 linebacker, and they also lose 1 in the secondary. So, yeah, this offense has a ton of potential if they can get a couple of good wide receivers going, and if Sam Ehlinger can stay healthy, as well as, this defense is only losing 4 starters, so that's going to be huge as well. No doubt on that. But yeah, chances of winning the Big 12 in 2020, I think they're pretty good for Texas. Oklahoma will be good next season. I don't think they'll be as good as they were this season by any means. I don't expect them to make the college football playoff again. Texas is going to be right up there, I bet. I could expect them to be top 3. Once again, it all depends on the wide receiver core, though. If they can get a couple of good wide receivers in there, and if Brennan Eagles can step up, I think that Texas has potential to win the Big 12 next year, no doubt. And I don't think anyone's really thinking about this team very much. Looking at how they went 8-5 last season, many people have just kind of given up on Texas, and I think this team still has a ton of potential. They've got Sam Ehlinger, once again, with him being as great of a quarterback that he is, I mean, this team could really go anywhere with him. Looking at your schedule for the first time as well, we got South Florida to kick off the season on September 5th. You got LSU again, this time on the road, so that's going to be a tough game. You got UTEP on September 19th. You got Kansas State on the road. And then you got Oklahoma in a neutral location in AT&T Stadium on October 10th. And then you got West Virginia on the 17th, as well as Texas Tech on the 24th. You finish off October with Baylor at home. You got Kansas to kick off November on the road. Then you got TCU and Iowa State at home. Then you finish off the season at Oklahoma State. So really the schedule, it's somewhat tough. I mean, that LSU game is going to be brutal. I don't expect LSU to be as good this season as they were last season. But once again, I do expect them to be a great team. No doubt on that. But yeah, you got a couple of tough games to go. Of course, that Oklahoma game is going to be crucial. And that's going to be a major game on October 10th. I mean, really for both teams, for both sides. That game is going to be extremely important to determine who wins the Big 12 next season, which I don't really expect Baylor to be up there again. And honestly, I think Baylor's position is going to be kind of replaced by Iowa State. So I think Iowa State would be the other team to be a huge surprise in the Big 12. But yeah, Texas, once again, I do expect to be way up there. But yeah, here's what you're looking at as for projected wins. I'm going to say your guaranteed wins here on this schedule will be UTEP and Kansas. That's all I'm going to give you right now. Of course, in our schedule previews, we only go over a couple games. Then we go over all the games on the schedules and our final predictions, which that will be coming in the summer. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Yeah, your record estimation for Texas, 8-4 to 10-2 is what I'm expecting here. So something similar to how they were this season, but I do expect them to be better. So 9-10 wins, very, very expectable for Texas next season. I could have even put in an 11-1 as your max there as well, but I didn't this time around. But yeah, stay tuned for my final prediction to see if I've got anything differently. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching once again. Let me know your thoughts on Texas in the comments below. If you disagree with anything in here, be sure to let me know. I'd like to hear your guys' responses. Yeah, thank you guys all for watching once again. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I will see you all later.